When looking for Togo on the internet, many will find that it just shows their bright, sunshiny beaches that seem fitting for them being off the west coast of Africa. But in large contrast to that, a majority of the southern part of the elongated country is swamp and marshy area, very unfitting for living, so many stick as close to the coast as they can. Whereas in the north, it's more mountainous and more into the transition of a desert-like state, which has a very hilly and rocky shape, allowing for their phosphate mining to be as powerful as it is. This causing the population to have to morph around it and live around it, with some part of the country being more tropical. Because of the elongated shape of the country, it causes there to be a large variety of environments, thus causing different stories from different people leading different lives. The variety in landscape that the country shows is also shown in its food, leading there to be many different colors, with meats varying from what part of the country you're on. Most of the south, the meat is rodent meat from agouti, and most of the north, you have more traditional goat, chicken, and beef. Also in the country, in the south, there's more plantain and fruit farming than in the north with wheat and cereal crops. Now, the ethnic makeup chart does not give a full and true story of Togo's background, because in truth, there are 37 different tribal groups in Togo, all of which have a very unique and different view of the world. Many of these were placed in Togo because of superimposed boundaries, and the government has refused to autonomize power. The refusal of their autonomization has not caused much centrifugal forces, though, because of the relationship between the different tribes being so close. While there are many traditional African religions, there's also a major part in their more universal religions of Christianity and Islam. Togo shows a large amount of diversity within their country. Another level to that diversity is their urban landscape. With Lome being a primate city that looks of a modern Western society, it leads the main role of being the financial capital of Togo, whereas much of the rural area is committed to subsistent farming, which leads them to have very little money and very little to spend on much. While Togo is committed to farming, there are two different types of farming that separate many of the farmers in Togo. There is subsistent farming, which a majority of the population takes part in, and then there's commercial farming, which many young African men travel away from home to go to many commercial farms which are created from foreign direct investment. Also created from foreign direct investment is large phosphate mines, which has led to a phosphate industry taking off in Togo, leading to a large portion of their GDP being made up of phosphate. Another booming industry in Togo is the tourist industry. Because of its geographical location and the accessibility to the beach and how close Western society is to Togo, it has created a great place for foreign direct investment and the ability to build a new industry. The government has also helped promote this industry by requesting loans from the World Bank to increase the infrastructure along the coastline, to increase their capacity and able to hold more tourists and create more profit. Another idea placed forward by the government is the idea of building Lome into the tourist capital of the world. This plan has been placed forward as you can see now, as a plan to build it into a financial and tourist capital. Another place where they've been looking to invest into tourism is the forest and natural area behind and past the swamps. Because of this area being heavily worked on for primary sector jobs, it has not been allowed to build into a tourist area yet, but they are working on natural preservation. On the flip side of all the apparent growth, though, there is a large detrimental problem that Togo now has to face. Because they've requested loans to increase their energy capacity, with thermal plants and hydroelectric plants being built, increasing it at an increasing rate, it has caused their debt to skyrocket, along with their increase in loans for infrastructure and their trades with other countries for higher level technology that they themselves cannot create. This has created a dependency on other countries such as Japan and Paris for larger scale technology and food products that they need. A cause of this high trade imbalance is Togo is selling low-cost primary resources to countries that are then taking those and selling them back high-cost, fully manufactured resources that Togo can't create themselves. Most of Togo's debt is going towards the World Bank, but it is also creating a large political problem within Togo based on the leadership and their government, which has caused severe change and revolution over the past couple years. Along with the major changes economically, there have also been major changes politically. These have taken the form of an overthrow of a military coup and the installation of a republic in 2007, with them promoting a new leader. The new leader, however, is also raising red flags because his father was the military coup leader, and many believe that the elections were rigged in order to keep the power in the one family's hands, which has then caused much turmoil and many protests in the country, which has caused the government to act in on the violence. Many of the protesters, however, are not trying to overthrow the government currently. They are fine with the way the government is set up. They are just protesting ways to tweak the government, such as they're trying to change the amount of terms you can run for consecutively. They're trying to change how long each term is. It is currently 5. They wish to have it at 4. And at first, these were non-violent protests aimed to take it in a more peaceful manner, but over time have led to more violent and extreme approaches in order to get the change that they have been looking. The response the government has taken towards these protests, however, were non-beneficial to them, instead enacting more protesters because of the violence that the military used to attempt to stop the non-violent protests, which has then caused the violent protests to break out and has created a snowball effect of more violence being created in the country, which is being viewed poorly by the World Bank, causing their loan rates to go up because they are considered a dangerous case. In spite of the large-scale changes that have been made politically and economically, life for an everyday Togolese citizen has stayed relatively the same. Many of them are still subsistent and extensive agriculture or primary sector mining, which has led to majority of the population being very low, below the extreme poverty line of $1 a day. However, not all is lost for the citizens of Togo. Instead, they can focus on a few keys to help them grow as a society and as an economy. One key would be using tariffs to promote homegrown businesses to increase their GDP. Another would be to use their comparative advantage of phosphate mining to help build a stronger economy. Then invest into infrastructure and transportation in order to keep a connected society. And finally, move the capital from Lome to Sakoti in order to be more influential in society and have more people connected to it. First key for Togo to grow is to continue investing into transportation. The reason for this is investing into transportation will make the cost of transportation cheaper, thus making their goods cheaper, which can help domestic businesses compete on a global stage. Another way for Togo to help their businesses compete on an international stage is by creating tariffs, thus to encourage people to invest and buy more domestic goods, which are cheaper than the foreign goods, which would be more expensive and much more troublesome to get. One of the businesses they'll need to be competing on the global stage for is their phosphate mining. They need to continue to invest into it in order to increase the capacity. With an increased capacity, the GDP will raise significantly because it'll take over as one of the major phosphate mining industries in the world. Thus, modern and developed countries will flock to try and buy the product. The final key and a way to keep control of all the phosphate mines in the country would be to have a forward capital, or to move the capital from Lome, which is at a very far end of the country, to Sakoti, who for an elongated country is in the center, or at least as close to the center as you can get. This would increase the connectedness and involvement that an everyday citizen has with the government, because with the increased transportation and Sakoti being in the center, more people would be able to be more involved in the government. All in all, even though Togo got off to a rough start with imperialism and colonialism, it has grown and continued to develop to the point where it could be a future semi-periphery country into a core country. All it would need to do is take steps to increase its domestic economy and to lessen its dependency on modern developed countries for goods that they can create.